What a nice intro.
Sorry. Hello? Hi?
Oh, I gotta... Hold on. Mute the mic, mute the...
Hello? Is that better?
Yeah, that should be.
Hi! Can we be heard? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Jasper, I'm gonna need you to control the mouse.
Okay.
As you can see...
I'm gonna hurt my arm a lot, but let me move my fat cocoa.
Why don't I hold that for you?
No, it's mine. No, you cannot. No, that's mine. I want a sippy. Sippy uppies. No. Alright. Hello?
That is good
The
cocoa.
crypt members are wrong because they always are. Jer, can you change that? Because I don't know how.
What do you mean Charlie isn't here? Oh, fuck my dad.
Jer. Alright, well, hello everyone. Welcome to today's Books by Brunch. Today we are going to be talking about Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, which is one of my favorite plays of all time, and I think Jer can agree to that.
Yeah.
We were originally going to talk about both Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus and Goethe's Faust, but we are not able to talk about both of them. Dr. Faustus we have both read, and neither of us were able to even look at Faust.
I started looking at Faust.
Yeah.
I know the differences, but...
We'll talk about it briefly.
Yeah.
But the bulk of this stream is going to be about, Dr. Faustus. I will send a link.
I'll get it out of the way real quick, and then we'll talk about it later. But, I discovered that, Faust by Goethe is basically just a rewrite where he was like, I don't like this ending, and so he changed the ending.
Of Dr. Faustus?
Yeah. And
Oh, okay.
I'll talk about how the ending has changed, but aside from that...
Okay. So yeah, I just sent a Gutenberg link in chat if people want to follow along. I know Named had said that he was not familiar with, Faustus, so you can follow along if you would like. I fucking love this play. I'm so excited. So yeah, do you want to talk about the Hiftory thing real quick?
Yes. Okay. The reason it says Hiftory, I also did misspell Tragical in what I wanted to write it as, but, I actually was looking at the original, quote-unquote, original text of just Faustus in general. I'll get more into what I mean by Faustus in general. And, it was called the Tragical Hiftory of Dr. Faustus.
Well, that might be just like an old English medieval thing.
I think it
Not
was...
medieval, but...
I think it was a, German to English kind of thing.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
German to old German to old English.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dr. Faustus.
That's on purpose.
Yeah.
Did you get here through the tweet, Van? Because I'm really happy about that tweet. Click here for more. You may be entitled for financial compensation. Click here for more information.
Faustus. Alright, so, before we begin, we actually have a lot to talk about before we even really get into the play.
The bulk of what we have to talk about is before we get into the play.
Yeah. This play was written by a man named Christopher Marlowe, and, Christopher Marlowe is a very, elusive figure, but we have quite a number of things to talk about in regards to him. Yeah.
Ooh, the Discord ping.
The Discord ping.
Should I read the historic homos page for this rather than my typical Encyclopedia Britannica?
You can reference both.
Yeah. I think it has mostly the same information. It's just really... Wow. Okay.
Our music stopped. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Is the music too loud? It might be a little loud. Can you just turn it down? We can't hear it, so I just want to make sure we're good.
I think it was a song transition.
Okay. Alright. Christopher
All right.
Marlowe.
Born 26 February 1564, 2 months before William Shakespeare. We will get into the significance of Marlowe and Shakespeare later on. Died 30th of May 1593. I almost said 1953. That would be very wrong.
Yeah. He did not live a long time.
According to historicalhomos.com, he is known for writing plays about gay English kings, smoking tobacco as freely as he screwed the twinks of London, and spying for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth I's Secret Service. Brimbo's here. Let's get to the prologue. There is only one attributed portrait of Marlowe. No one knows if it's him, but look at that fabulous suit and gay little face. Which, honestly,
Are you able to send the link to this page in chat?
Yes, I'm not gonna open it on stream.
That's why I'm saying
because
put it in
there's
chat. Oh, there's slurs on that page.
Yeah,
yes.
there's gay slurs.
There, yes. But if people want to read the page, you can.
I didn't realize that part of the link just says "com."
It's fine. It's fine.
They're gay ones. We're gay. Christopher Kit Marlowe was born into extremely unfabulous conditions. The son of a shoemaker, but think your local cobbler, not Manilow. In Canterbury, so 60 miles east of anything fashionable in Elizabethan London. And the eldest of a low-class litter, living on their father's debt in a barrel after barrel of plague-laced beer. Like any self-respecting historical homo, Kit wanted out. Kit Kat even managed to get himself into the King's School of Canterbury, while his father and younger sisters, noisy and self-assertive, repeatedly got arrested for blaspheming and swearing in public. This is all legitimately on the page.
Yes.
And I've, like, cross-referenced this against the Encyclopedia Britannicas, and...
Seems pretty accurate?
Yeah, it's pretty much just as accurate. He was pretty rebellious at a young age. At 13, he got a scholarship to the University of Cambridge, and pursued a career in the totally heterosexual church. After he finished at the University of Cambridge, he went to study at Corpus Christi College, which is a Christian school. He studied poetry, and he translated a couple of major poems during his time there. He then supposedly served as a spy for Queen Elizabeth.
Mm.
And there's a possibility he helped to uncover the political assassination plot by Mary, Queen of Scots, that ended up in her beheading.
Oh, interesting.
He, like, missed so many classes at school that they were like, I don't think we're gonna give you your master's degree. But then the fucking, like, Royal Court of England was like, hey,
This kid's fine.
This kid's fine. Don't worry about it. He's serving the queen, and everybody's like, okay. And then he got a master's. I don't fucking know. He only ended up living to 29, so there's not too much to get into of his history.
We don't know a lot about his life.
Yeah, he never married. He never had kids. He wrote a couple plays. Tamburlaine, Dido Queen of Carthage, The Jew of Malta, The Massacre of Paris, Edward II, which is apparently very gay, and of course, Dr. Faustus. It's Chloe! Oh my god! Hi, Chloe!
Welcome to
Oh,
Books
we
by
miss you.
Night.
We've talked about how much we miss you a couple times.
So yeah, the thing with Marlowe is, we don't know a lot about his life. It is very likely that he was gay.
Yeah.
That's kind of the general accepted kind of...
It's very much believed,
Yeah.
and it mostly leads to,
It doesn't seem like he had any, like, concrete partners or anything that could, like, verify this, but there's a lot of themes of, like, homosexuality in his work, which for Renaissance, literature is a big deal.
Yeah. So, he was killed in a bar fight with 2 other suspected spies after having just been arrested for atheism.
Yes.
Which
Also,
it's unsure if he was actually atheist or if he just had different opinions of Christianity, and then they're like, oh, you don't believe exactly what I think, you are atheist. And then they're like, I will burn you at the stake. And he's like, well, but not because I'm gay? And they're like, not because you're gay. And then there was an investigation where some details came out, and there was a quote attributed to him by one of the investigators, and it is, all they that love not tobacco and boys are fools. So basically he said, smoke weed, love men. Take that as you will. He said, if you don't smoke weed and love men, you're dumb.
yeah. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He only lived to, what, 29?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, not a huge, expansive history. We don't know as much as about him as probably we would like to. A lot of, Renaissance writers, we just don't know everything. But there's some interesting things to look at for sure. Jared's looking at Amazon right now, so I don't know.
Because I had a deal pop up for microphones.
Oh.
Like the nice ones that Ethan has.
Yeah.
But they're like $100. That's sad of them.
So, the thing about Marlowe is he is often attributed as a big rival of Shakespeare, and that's not entirely true.
Entirely. It's like not true
Not
at all.
true at all. Christopher Marlowe died Christopher Marlowe died before Shakespeare really got his start.
It was like within the same year.
Yeah.
That Shakespeare was first attributed as a writer, like the first mention of him as a playwright, where he was called a sham.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, Shakespeare's a sham, he's dumb, he's stupid, I hate him. That wasn't even Marlowe who wrote that. And then later that year, Marlowe died, was stabbed.
1593?
Yeah.
1593.
And Shakespeare first appeared in...
Like 1604, I think, or like...
No, 1592
Oh, really?
was the first time he was mentioned by another playwright. But his plays didn't take off for a while.
Yeah. The guess is that he's probably writing before then.
Now, there is a theory that I don't believe, I don't partake in, that...
I don't partake in.
I like to believe the reading that Shakespeare was a moniker a few people in a group use. See, the odd thing is that those theories exist, but there's actually a lot of public record of William Shakespeare. Not in, like, letters that he wrote or anything, but there's a lot of financial records of property that he owned. There's his will, there's birth certificates, death certificates, baptism certificates. There's a surprisingly large amount of information.
We have 3 signatures in his handwriting.
Yeah, that isn't available on other authors at the time.
Yeah.
Like Marlowe has hardly anything.
Yeah.
We have references to him in places. Shakespeare's father was mayor of Stratford-upon-Avon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the schools don't even mention that because it gets glossed over so much, but like there actually is quite a bit of public record about Shakespeare, but because a lot of people want to believe that he couldn't have done all that himself,
Yeah.
they subscribe to that. But there is a theory that since Marlowe died the same year, that his death was faked and they forged an identity for him of William Shakespeare. I don't believe that because there's too much information about William Shakespeare prior to that, like his marriage to Anne Hathaway and everything.
Yep.
But it is interesting to note that his death and Shakespeare's first literary references
kind of coincide.
Yeah, it's the same year.
They weren't rivals, but it is very likely that they probably knew each other in some capacity. Their time in London does overlap a little bit. There's also the theory that Marlowe and Shakespeare might have been more than just friends. I can't. It's really hard
There's
to
the
say.
theory that Marlowe helped write some of Shakespeare's plays, which obviously can't be a thing.
That couldn't work. But their time overlapping, you know, I think it was, 6 years? That they...
Yeah, they lived in London or near each other for like 6 years.
Yeah.
So they might have known each other.
They might have. They very well might have. And
I mean, Marlowe pioneered the idea of blank verse writing.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
How do we know Marlowe and Shakespeare aren't the same person? We've never seen them in a room together. Please disregard any evidence.
The reason why Marlowe is so kind of intertwined with Shakespeare in particular is because of, while Marlowe didn't live a long time, he did so much for, like, the drama genre. Most notably, blank verse. Blank verse is the writing style that's unrhymed iambic pentameter. So if you look at a Shakespeare sonnet, how it has a rhyme scheme, it's that meter, without the rhyme. So I believe Dr. Faustus is entirely written in blank verse, if I'm correct. I believe this is entirely an iambic pentameter, unrhymed.
You take a sip.
Oh, I'm taking... I don't want to.
Take a sip.
Sorry, hold on. That's okay.
It's pumpkin.
That is nice. So yeah, and you'll see that come up in, like, Shakespeare's work as well. Shakespeare likes to play with rhyme and unrhyme, blank verse, as just like a... I think it's technically a poetry style. And that'll come up in Shakespeare's work, and Marlowe is, like, the pioneer of it. Like, first person to ever write a full play in blank verse. And just that alone, we wouldn't have Shakespeare's work in that way without Marlowe. We have to kind of look at where we came from in that regard. And the blank verse is important to me because, you know, I'm a writer myself, and the blank verse comes up in, like, Midsummer Night's Dream, it comes up in Taming of the Shrew, it comes up in Merchant of Venice. Like, you'll see Shakespeare do the sonnet, like, rhymed iambic, but when he unrhymes, it usually means something. But this isn't about him. This is about Marlowe. I just wanted to mention that. It's important to me. So when you read Shakespeare work, you can thank Christopher Marlowe in some capacity, regardless of whether they knew each other or what kind of relationship those two guys had. Marlowe definitely influenced Shakespeare, even if they didn't entirely work together or
regardless
not at
of
all.
if they sat in a little closet together.
So yeah,
to say.
who's to say? It was a long time ago, so, you know, there's a lot
the
of...
death certificate is to say.
Yeah.
But, again, who's to say?
All right.
Marlowe was a spy, so it's not entirely far-fetched to think that they could have forged an identity. There's... I don't think they did, but, you know, there's like a 10% possibility, I suppose.
Yeah. The world's funny.
There's been weirder theories.
Hmm.
And weirder just conspiracies in general. There's many Shakespeare conspiracies that are just, like, completely unfounded.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Well, because he was so brilliantly smart that people are like, there's no way that was
Yeah.
just one person, or, you know, that kind of thing.
but this ain't about him.
This
We'll
ain't
get to
about him,
another
sorry.
time.
Sorry. We'll do a Shakespeare one at some point.
We'll do a whole, like, month of Shakespeare
Yeah.
at some point.
Do we want to talk about morality plays?
Yes, that's on you.
Alright. So, Dr. Faustus is kind of cited as what is called a morality play.
It is one of the later
Later
morality
ones,
plays.
yes. Morality plays are a type of drama that come from actually medieval times. If you...
There's the big three.
The big three.
The big three of medieval times. Pop quiz for you.
Everyman.
No. Types.
Oh, types of...
Morality.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
I gotta Google.
I haven't done medieval stuff in a very long time. I'm more about Renaissance. I'm not as versed. Is it the epic or like the hero?
Hold on.
Like Beowulf?
It is. The mystery and the miracle.
Yeah, I did not know that.
There are three types of medieval plays for the most type. Vernacular drama produced in the Middle Ages. Mystery, miracle, and morality.
Okay.
Jasper got a C on the pop quiz.
I'm sorry. I'm not as well versed in medieval as I am in Renaissance. But the morality play is a type of play that's meant to... It's kind of what it sounds like. It's meant to teach a moral kind of lesson. Usually, well, not usually, always, morality play will have a central character that's supposed to represent all of humanity. The most famous one is called Everyman. And, you know, the main character of Everyman is supposed to be just that. The Everyman, like, your run-of-the-mill person, supposed to represent all of us as a whole. Just a person, you know, with, you know, human flaws and human characteristics. And all of the supporting characters are usually personified, like, vices and virtues. About, like, who is it? There's, like, wealth and goods in every man. Like, justice will sometimes appear. Like, these very broad concepts about, how we go through life. And they come to this everyman kind of, person figure. And just... I'm using Everyman as the example because it's the one I'm familiar with. They come to Everyman and show him, like, basically how to get to heaven. Like, here are the things you've done in your life, here's how you can be forgiven. It's very, you know, heaven is the end goal, here's how you get there, sort of thing.
Which, Everyman wasn't actually one of the first ones.
It's just the one I'm familiar with.
Everyman was written at the turn of the 1500s.
Yeah.
So it wasn't long before Dr. Faustus.
Yeah.
The first morality play was actually written in the 12th century, the 1100s.
It's probably not written, it was probably spoken mouth first and then written.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
But they date back to the 1100s as the first one.
Yeah.
That I could find record of.
Yeah. Everyman's just the one I know. I know there's, like, a couple of other ones. I can't think of what they're called, but Everyman's the one that I'm loosely familiar with. And you see some of that stuff come up in Dr. Faustus. There's one particular scene that I'm thinking of this person who is visited by these personified kind of abstract concepts as characters to kind of show him where he's going. And it's interesting that Dr. Faustus kind of has that influence because the whole idea of the Renaissance is to dismiss the work of the Middle Ages and instead to celebrate the works of, like, the classic Greece, the classic Rome. It's very interesting that there's medieval influence because that's the whole idea of the Renaissance is the Middle Ages sucked. We're gonna be better by going back to what was before, the classic, the Golden Age. And the Middle Ages are then called the Dark Ages, because that's like the barbaric time, you know? They don't really care for the work that's produced during that time. So it's interesting that Dr. Faustus, a Renaissance piece, technically, has a medieval influence. Even if it's a loose one, but it is there.
I actually have a thing to talk about that.
Yeah.
In a few. So, the history of Faust versus Faustus versus all the other ones. The tragical Hiftory of Dr. Faustus is not the first record of this character, Dr. Faustus.
Mm-hmm.
It is the second record. Goethe's Faust came sometime after that, and there are nearly a dozen other novels, plays, and poems about this man, Dr. Faustus. That is because the first record of Dr. Faustus is a supposedly non-fiction history book called Faustbach. Apparently, Dr. Faustus was a real person. And these are based on quote-unquote real events.
Very quote-unquote.
Because we can recognize that, no?
No, I
don't think so.
I think it happened.
Unless, some real weird shit happened and we just don't talk about it. Like, God just disappeared and doesn't talk to people anymore.
People, like, even today claim weird stuff happens to them, like,
Yeah.
and, like, some people will genuinely believe the things
Well,
that
have I talked about I've talked to you about the John Constantine thing, but I don't think I've talked to chat about it. The DC character, John Constantine, this is tied to it. There are at least 6 writers, including the creator of John Constantine, who claimed that sometime after they finished their writing runs of the character in the comics, they claimed to have met him.
A fictional character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and they didn't talk about it until one of them talked about it, and the rest were all like, yeah,
I met him.
I met him, and everybody's like, they're all like, what? So that is certainly a very weird thing.
The human mind is susceptible.
Yeah.
And, like, especially, like, and I don't mean to disregard things in this way, but when it comes to, like, religion and just, like, theology concepts, people believe certain things, you know? And I think of, like, the idea of, like, exorcisms comes to mind. You know, stuff like that. Like, and people, like, believe it. And, of course, they have the right to believe it, but, when it comes to Dr. Faust, I mean, when we get into the play, you'll kind of maybe see what we're talking about. But yeah, people will believe that stuff. Yeah. Whether, I mean, obviously, you know. And this is also dramatized.
Yes,
so
this is dramatized.
When it comes to based on real events, take that with a grain of salt as well, you know.
Yeah, John Constantine was a DC character. Or is currently in the DC canon. Very interesting that the writers, including the creator, claim to have met John Constantine.
That happened to me.
Yeah, you met Vina Cavo?
I was gonna say Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad, but...
What?
No, I've met Vina Cavo, yeah.
Hold on, I want to go back to Jesse Pinkman. What?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was bullshit.
Oh, okay. But yeah, there are claims... There is an entire, like, book detailing the life of this Dr. Faustus called Faustbach.
Well, he probably was a real doctor.
Yeah.
Had a doctorate in theology, and he probably...
It's believed he was either an alchemist or a priest.
Ooh! Okay.
Because alchemists are a real thing.
Yes.
And it would... may have been around the time of Paracelsus.
Much to think
Swiss
about.
physician. Yes. he overlaps in time with Paracelsus and a couple other big names in alchemy.
Love that.
Very interesting that he's supposed to be a real person, and this is an actual history play like Shakespeare would write, but not a entire work of fiction.
Yeah, because it doesn't trout itself as a history play.
Yeah. You have to know to know.
Yeah. This is your, textbook definition tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't think I even knew that he had been a real person.
Yeah. And we chose to just do this one because honestly, most of the other records aren't too different, aside from Goethe's Faust, and that differs in the ending and in the beginning. The beginning, which, since we'll talk about it in a minute anyway, the beginning opens up in heaven of the archangels talking to each other and making a bet with Mephistopheles and Lucifer, and Mephistopheles and Lucifer were like, yeah, I bet you we can take one of your most devoted soldiers of Christ and turn him to the side of the devil. And they're like, all right, bet. And then they're like, all right, Faustus.
Yeah.
And then they do it. But then we'll get into that later.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And this is where Faustian comes from, obviously. A Faustian bargain is a bargain with the devil.
Yeah.
It's just a deal with the devil. It's a very popular term, and it has a very simple definition, but this is the origin. It's Dr. Faustus. Remember that the religious speakers at this one convention I went to talked about how they carry out long, almost casual conversations with God. That was also the convention where I became agnostic.
Nice, yeah.
Alright, the next thing I want to hit on before we get into it is Renaissance Man with a Medieval Price, a analytical quote by someone named R.M. Dawkins. And I just think that's very interesting because of what you were saying. It's very medieval with the Renaissance aspect.
Well, the thing about this is that it does have both.
Yeah.
There's a ton of... Look at the opening line. It's littered with references to Greece.
Yeah.
And the Helen of Troy thing is wicked important later. Because that whole thing,
yeah.
It's littered with references to Greece. I just find there's this one scene that is really morality play-ish, but in the opposite direction,
yeah.
I guess. Because it's a scene, and we'll talk about it, with the personification of the 7 deadly sins. It's very common, but, it wasn't common at this time.
Yeah.
It was, blasphemous at this time. We see it all the fucking time now, and it's almost old school now, but this is probably one of the earliest times we see the 7 deadly sins personified this way. That's kind of where that idea kind of comes in.
The medieval pricing, when I was reading through this analysis, was that it follows the structure of a Renaissance play. He is a Renaissance man.
Yeah, it's textbook tragedy.
But the thing is, he does not get the option to repent in the end, and there is no redemption for him.
Yeah, no.
And redemption was a huge idea in Renaissance plays, but damnation is a huge idea in medieval plays.
That's true, yeah.
But
the thing about tragedy is that there's not enough time.
Yeah.
It has to do... Because when you look at... Where is it? This character list should have another character on it, a character known as time. Because time is such a fucking huge force in not just this play, but in all tragedies alike.
Yeah.
Because that's what separates tragedy from comedy, is comedy has enough time to get that pleasing resolution. Tragedy does not.
Yeah. But it's specifically the price that he has to pay for it.
Yeah.
The damnation to hell.
The life, yeah.
Yeah. That's what makes it a medieval price. Because death is just the regular price of the Renaissance era. But damnation to hell, that's medieval.
Yeah.
That's what that's in reference.
Because medieval thing is all about getting to heaven in the end. That's the whole thing about Beowulf, is he gets to heaven, you know, sort of thing.
And he does.
And he does.
I love Beowulf and Maelstrom Skies.
I'm talking about the long poetic epic of Beowulf.
And that is something to note as we go into this. Another thing I want to note is maturity over time. As we go through this, you're gonna see that Faustus, when he starts, he has all these grand ambitions, and in the first few parts, he seeks knowledge, he asks all these questions of the universe.
Well, that's the whole thing, is pursuit of knowledge.
Yeah.
It's this whole kind of driving force.
But then, over time, he starts to get more immature.
Yep.
He starts pulling, like, pranks on people.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to a great scene.
The guy pulling his leg, that one?
Yeah, we'll get to those. But then in the end, he like summons up Helen of Troy, and then he just goes on a rant about how beautiful she is. And he just slowly loses his ambitions, drive, and maturity throughout the play.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting thing that I realized. And then the last thing to keep in mind is whether you will read Mephistopheles as masculine or feminine. Because we've seen a production where Mephistopheles was a woman.
I don't know if I've watched that one.
The Oxford one?
What's the one we watched on digital theater?
I don't think we watched it on digital theater.
Was it not?
No. I'm pretty sure we watched the Oxford production. And I'm fairly sure...
Is that the one that's like 7 hours long?
I think so.
With like that really graphic scene?
I think so.
Of the guy getting beaten?
Probably.
I don't remember Mephistopheles being a woman in that one.
Mephistopheles was a woman.
I thought Mephistopheles... I can't even speak!
Well...
I thought that was a man.
Yeah.
But still, it's important to know.
There are certainly some productions that have Mephistopheles as a woman. There are certainly some that have Mephistopheles as a man. And like the masculine and feminine aspects, because if you read with the masculine aspects, then there's some subtext in there.
There's a little bit of homoerotics.
Yeah. And that's what it would have intentionally been written as.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But you can.
There is something to be said about that the decision to change that as well.
Yeah, and then if you change to a woman, then you have a whole aspect of power that plays into that one.
Yes.
There's just plenty of very interesting things you can look at there. That may come up while we're reading this.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Jasper, would you like to take away the play overview?
All right. So, we begin, and this is very Renaissance. We enter with a chorus. It's very Greek, Greek tragedy, Greek play. We open with a chorus that basically gives us a little bit of exposition about Dr. Faustus as a character, where he's from, and his life up until this point. We basically learn that Faustus is born from a very small family in a German town called Rhodes. Money, very poor, and he goes to school. I've always read it as Wittenberg. He goes to school in a place called Wittenberg, which is like, think of like the Harvard of this kind of area. This is a huge fucking school, and this little farm boy from Rhodes is able to go because
swollen with cunning.
Because of how smart and basically blessed this kid is. we have all these, you know, Greek references, the Muse, the Mars, like, it's littered with it. But, so soon he profits in divinity, the fruitful plot of scholarism graced. So, he goes to school in Wittenberg, and he's given his doctorate. He gets his doctorate in theology, in religious studies. It's very important. He's so fucking smart. He's able to breeze his way through college. He gets his PhD, with, like, no money to his name, and he gets pretty reputable because of it. So we get this little chorus that just kind of tells us this, and then we find Faustus in his study. And bless you. I'll read a little bit of this, just cause I'm trying to find... So he has all these books, all these religious books. This is Latin, right? Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
Be a physician, Faustus, heap up gold, and be eternized for some wondrous cure. Summonum bona medicina sanitas. The end of physic is our body's health. Why, Faustus, hast thou not attained that end? Is not thy common talk found as for aphorisms?
Yeah.
Where's the part I'm looking for?
Do you want me to look up what an aphorism is?
Yeah. Yet art thou still but Faustus and a man. Couldst thou make men to live eternally, or being dead, raise them to life again? Then this profession were it be... I cannot read today, I'm so sorry.
There are two meanings. A pithy observation that contains a general truth, such as, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or a concise statement of a scientific principle, typically by an ancient classical author.
This is what I'm looking for. Sorry. Okay. So he's going through all his books, and he's just kind of grappling with everything he's worked towards. This is the part I was looking for. The reward of sin is death. That's hard. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and there is no truth in us. Why then be like we must sin, and so consequently die? Aye, we must die in everlasting death. What doctrine call you this, che Sarah? What will be, shall be. Divinity, adieu. These metaphysics of magicians and necromantic books are heavenly. Lines, what?
The Necroma. The Necromicon.
Necromican? Or what?
The Necromican.
Sorry.
Maybe we can watch that in the Discord at some point.
And necromantic books are heavenly. Lines, circles, scenes, letters, and characters. These are those that Faustus most desires. A world of profit and delight, of power, of honor, of omnipotence is promised to the studious artisan. All things that move between the quiet poles shall be at my command. Emperors and kings are but obeyed in their several provinces, nor can they raise the wind or rend the clouds, but his dominion that exceeds in this stretcheth as far as doth the mind of man. A sound magician is a... Shut up! Shut up! I'm busy. Stretcheth as far as doth the mind of man. A sound magician is a mighty god. Here, Faustus, tire thy brains to gain a deity. So he basically says, fuck God. Fuck God, I'm done with this. Are you okay?
I have another sneeze coming.
Then just do it.
I can't.
And this is another, kind of morality play thing. Faustus is basically like, I'm thinking I'm gonna give up everything. If I'm just destined to die because I sin, why not sin?
Yeah.
You know? And then we get this good angel. It's the little devils on your shoulder kind of thing.
Yeah.
That try to tempt him otherwise. The good angels, oh, Faustus, lay that damned book aside and gaze not on it. Blah blah blah. Evil angel, go forward, Faustus, in that famous art wherein all nature's treasure is contained. how gutted with conceit of this. There's another part. Perform what desperate enterprise I will. So he's thinking like, fuck God, you know?
Yeah.
And these two come in, they're known for working in the dark magics, the black magic,
They're his
if you will.
friends, though.
Yeah, they are his friends, but they have a bit of a reputation already.
Scholars are also his friends.
Yeah. Coming down with me, and after meat will converse every quiddity thereof, for ere I sleep I'll try what I can do. This night I'll conjure, though I die therefore. Scholars are like, sorry, hold on. Oh, Orion!
Ooh?
Ooh? Is this? Yep, okay. So he's like, fuck God. I found a devil. I found a book where I can summon the devil.
Yeah. I believe it is
I'm trying to find
Valdez and Cornelius who give him the book.
Oh, okay.
I think they give him the book.
I'm just trying to find it.
It's right there. These books, thy wit and our experience shall make all nations canonize us.
Yeah, okay.
So I believe they give him the book.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just looking. Alright, so he's given a book that he can summon a devil. And he does it. Right here. I'm not reading all this, but this is what he reads to summon a little dude, little guy, named Mephistopheles. My beloved.
It should also be noted that it's Mephistopheles.
I say Phillies. Now that gloomy shadow of the earth, longing to view Orion's drizzling look, leaps of the Antarctic world unto the sky, and dims the welcome with her pitchy breath. Faustus, begin thine incantations, and try if devils will obey thy hest. Seeing thou hast prayed and sacrificed to them, within the circle is Jehovah's name. Forward and backward anagrammatized, thy abbreviated names of holy saints, figures of every adjunct to the heavens, and characters of signs and erring stars, by which the spirits are enforced to rise. Then fear not, Faustus, but be resolute. Resolute, yes. And try the uttermost magic can perform. He summons Mephistopheles. I charge thee to return and change thy shape. Thou art too ugly to attend me. Go and return, old Franciscan friar. That holy shape becomes a devil beast. So he summons him, and he's like, I don't want you.
I was just looking
I don't want you
at
with this.
the breakdown of the word Mephistopheles. Because I know Philadelphia is Greek for brotherly love. And that's the same Philly.
Yeah.
And the Philly part is love.
Okay.
But Mephistopheles itself translates to, not loving light. So that's just a very neat thing. If you can't tell, Jasper and I both have very different specialties when it comes to analysis, which is how these streams work well. You have much more of the literary knowledge, but I specialize a lot more in the historic.
Yeah.
And like entomology, not entomology.
No, yeah.
Entomology.
Word, meaning, stuff like that.
Etymology.
Yeah.
Etymology. Entomology is bugs, which I also specialize. But excuse me. It's the author versus the dramaturge.
Yeah.
And that's why the dynamic works well for this.
So he summons Mephistopheles.
Mephisto.
Mephisto.
Which Mephisto is a Marvel character.
Epic.
Yeah.
And Mephistopheles says, I am a servant to great Lucifer, and may not follow thee without his leave. No more than he commands must we perform. So, this is where we start to see the deal kind of starting to come up. He's basically like, you will revoke God's name. Revoke. What are you looking at?
I accidentally typed IPB. Happy birthday, Ipswich.
Happy birthday, Ipswich! Sorry. For when we hear one rack the name of God, abjure the scriptures and his Savior Christ, we fly and hope to get his glorious soul, nor will we come unless he use such means, whereby he is in danger to be damned. Therefore the shortest cut to conjuring is stoutly to abjure the Trinity, and pray devoutly to the Prince of Hell. Allah. Sorry, I haven't read this in a bit. He summons him. Was not that Lucifer an angel once? Yes, Faustus, and most dearly loved of God. How then is he a prince of devils? By aspiring pride and insolence, from which God threw him from the face of heaven. And what are you that live with Lucifer? Unhappy spirits that fell with Lucifer, conspired against our God with Lucifer, are aimed, forever damned, with Lucifer. Where are you damned? In hell.
Okay, something I want to point out that I just realized. Lucifer specifically means light bringer.
Yeah.
Mephistopheles is specifically
without
means
light.
Not loving light. So it's interesting that Mephistopheles is the one that comes. And the name literally means someone who doesn't love light, and Lucifer is the light.
So basically, Faustus is seeking more knowledge. He's gotten all that he's gotten out of God. He wants more to know with hell, basically. He wants more knowledge. He wants to... Here it is. He wants to betray his place on the great chain of being.
Let's hear it in the audience. Let's hear a clap.
He wants to be stronger than God. I will talk briefly about the great chain of being. We talked about it last week. The great chain of being is from Plato. And it basically reads as follows. God is above everything. God is the strongest power in the universe. Under God, angels. Little angels under God. Under angels is us, people. We have a spark of God known as our rational faculty. Our ability to make choices is what gives us the light of God, basically. We are above animals because of that. We are above plants. We are above everything. It's basically shit on the ground. Plants, animals, us, angels, God. That's a great chain of being, baby. Yippee!
I also want to point out that from what I know of Faust, I will talk about Gotez's Faust as much as I possibly can. But from what I know, it starts off with him reading the Bible.
Mm.
And well, he's like, man, I wish I could have more information.
Well, yeah,
he like didn't seek anything out. I think that they just come to him and they're like, hey, you want to learn? And he's like, I would love to.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Actually, I can look it up right now.
So he betrays his place on the great chain of being by trying to basically play a godly figure. And he uses Mephistopheles to do that. Not a godly figure, but he tries to pursue knowledge that it's just not for humans to know. God has more knowledge than angels. Angels have more knowledge than we do. And it is not our place to seek beyond, like, seek answers of the world and the universe beyond what we are given. Isn't, like, the whole idea of, like, when God gives us all the answers, that's when the world will end or something? Isn't that the whole idea of, like, the rapture? Is when God reveals the answers of everything?
The rapture is a very American Christian idea.
That's true.
It only existed because of evangelicals. It didn't exist before, and it was this idea that if you love God enough, then one day the rapture will come, and then everybody will just start flying towards the sky.
Oh, cool.
It's a very new concept.
Okay.
And it's very weird, and
It existed because of... You're so right, Henry! Yep.
I don't think it's fully recognized in other parts of the world, but
Okay.
don't quote me on that.
We're not theology majors.
I'm not theology majors, I just know that it was American, and that it's fairly new.
Yeah. Well, my point is that Faustus is trying to seek knowledge that he just isn't supposed to be going after. He's betraying his place on the Great Chain of Being, and he will pay the price, and it comes up when he makes this deal. I don't think it's in this particular scene that he makes it. But he tells, he tells, Mephistopheles to go... Yeah, okay. Go and return to mighty Lucifer and meet me by my study at midnight, and then resolve me of thy master's mind. So he's not making the deal just yet. He leaves. Had I as many souls as there be stars, I'd give them all for Mephistopheles. By him, I'll be a great emperor. This is it. By him, I'll be great emperor of the world and make a bridge through the moving air to pass the ocean with the band of man. I'll join the hills that bind the Afric shore and make that country continent to Spain, both contribute reading to my crown. The emperor shall not live but by my leave, or any potentate of Germany that I have obtained what I desired. I'll live in speculation of this art till Mephistopheles return again.
Okay, I'm looking at Faust right now. Mephistopheles makes a deal with God to try and get Faust on his side, and God's like, no you won't, he's my best buddy. I guess. And then we open to Faust in his study. Wagner comes in, but not until after Faust summons a spirit to just talk to it.
You know, like you do.
Just for whatever reason. Then it goes to a Hunter's Lodge. I don't know what this is. Seems very tossed in.
There's a scene with Wagner and the clown. I think for this we're just gonna stick to, like...
Faust.
The Faust stuff. I mean, it
Well,
is...
this is an important thing to note. The comedy stuff that's put into Faustus, it's believed that it was added in...
After the fact?
After the fact.
Yeah.
And that the very sobered, morality and heavy moments are what Marlowe himself wrote, and then whoever transcribed the play after his death decided that it was too grim.
Yeah.
Or something.
So, and then we get to that midnight scene. The thing that makes Dr. Faustus a tragedy is that in order for it to be a tragedy, Faustus must have some sort of, like, redeemable good quality. And he does. He's incredibly smart, and for a while he's a pretty good person up until this point. And we start to see him kind of question this. He's kind of teetering on the edge. He's still a little unsure, which is like the good angel, the evil angel. We see that a little bit again here. Now, Faustus, must thou needs to be damned, and canst... I'm so sorry. I'm usually better at this. Faustus, must thou needs be damned, and canst thou not be saved? What boots it, then, to think of God or heaven? Away with such vain fancies and despair. Despair in God, and trust in Beelzebub. Now go not backwards, no, Faustus, be resolute. Why waverest thou? Oh, something soundeth in my ears. Abjure this magic. Turn to God again. Aye, and Faustus will turn to God again. To God? He loves thee not. The God thou servest is thine own appetite. Wherein is fixed the love of Beelzebub, to him I'll build an altar and a church, and offer lukewarm blood of newborn babes. Ah!
He does seemingly summon Mephistopheles on purpose. For some reason, there's a poodle in the scene.
In Faust?
Mm-hmm. Instructions unclear. Poodle in summoning. And Mephistopheles walks out of a furnace.
Cool.
Maybe.
So he's like teetering on the edge, he's wavering, but he ultimately decides to do it.
I got an email. What's scarier than living poo? What? Oh, it's a bird poop frog.
So we get Mephistopheles again, and they strike a little deal. I'm just trying to find the exact lines because it's important. Blah, blah, blah. What good will my soul do thy Lord? Enlarge his kingdom. Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Look up this line.
Okay.
Just what it means. Because that's his response when Faustus asks why he tempts us. Why does Lucifer... Is that the reason why he tempts us to enlarge his kingdom? And I just want to know... Or wait, can I do this?
Word for word analysis.
By whom it was written, I know not. That's what it means. Now I have to go all the way back up. Oopsie! Give me! Around here. Hold on. Sorry, I just wanted to... Whoa! Didn't realize that was in all caps. Okay. Big lines coming up.
Misery loves company.
Yeah? Did I read the wrong thing?
Probably. Why does he tempt us? Because misery loves company.
Oh! Okay, that makes more sense. Okay. So... I will be thy slave and wait on thee, and give thee more than thou hast wit to ask. Shall I have thy soul? I, Mephistopheles, I give it to thee. He draws his blood, cuts his arm, and they do this little seance, let's call it. It's not a seance. My blood congeals and I can write no more. Faustus gives to thee his soul in all caps. Then write again. Faustus gives to thee his soul. There's some Latin here.
Blood is a juice of rarest quality.
Yeah. Bunch of little devils come in. I'm just trying to find the specifics. Here's the actual deal. On these conditions following: first, that Faustus may be a spirit in form and substance. Secondly, that Mephistopheles shall be his servant and at his command. Thirdly, that Mephistopheles shall do for him and bring him whatsoever he desires. Fourthly, that he shall be in his chamber or house invisible. Lastly, that he shall appear to be said John Faustus at all times, in what form or shape soever he please. I, John Faustus of Wittenberg, doctor, by these presents, do give both body and soul to Lucifer, Prince of the East, and his minister Mephistopheles. And furthermore, grant unto them that 24 years being expired, the articles above written inviolate, in full power to fetch and carry the said John Faustus, body and soul, flesh, blood, or goods, into their habitation wheresoever. By me, John Faustus. So, these are the conditions. Mephistopheles will serve Faustus. Faustus can change form, go wherever he pleases. Mephistopheles will bring him whatever he desires. The catch is the 24 years. So, Faustus only now has 24 years left to live. It's giving part of his soul, part of his life. 24 years. At the end of those 24 years, Faustus will die and be damned to hell. It is right here. 24 years. 24 years being expired, the articles above written inviolate. So the contract is done. Everything works up. Mephistopheles gives his part of the deal. Faustus will give his life in exchange. That's the deal. 24 years, baby. 24 years. Do you deliver this as your deed? Take it and the devil give thee good on it. And the first thing he asks, where's the place that men call hell? Under the heavens, but whereabout? Within the bowel of these elements, where we are tortured and remain forever. Hell hath no limits, nor is circumscribed in one self-place. For where we are is hell, and where hell is, there must be where we ever be. And to conclude, where all the world dissolves, and every creature shall be purified, all places shall be hell that are not heaven. Love that line. All places shall be hell that are not heaven.
Mm.
And it's interesting because he says, I think hell's a fable. I think hell's made up. Think so still till experience change thy mind. So, we did it. We've officially damned our protagonist.
Or have we?
No, we have.
Or have we?
Or have we? We have.
Or have we?
No, we have.
Or have we?
So, okay, for some reason this is not divided up by its scenes. I guess the scenes are kind of something that's in after the fact, so I get it. It's not really written in, like, your typical Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 sort of thing.
Yeah.
It just has scenes, but it doesn't differentiate them.
Tut Faustus.
Huh?
Tut Faustus.
Tut Faustus.
Marriage is a ceremonial toy. If thou lovest me, think no more of it. There is so much of Mephistopheles saying, if thou lovest me. Mephistopheles is one of them lovers who'll be like, do you like me? Mephistopheles be like, do you love me? Do you like me?
Would you still like me if I was a devil?
Would you still like me if I was a worm? And
then he turns
Faustus
into a
is like,
worm.
no.
No! Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where exactly we are on the play at this point. I'm looking for...
Did we get to all the questions that Faustus is asking?
Well, he asks about hell first, and
Yeah.
he doesn't...
Alright, that's a very good one. This is a very good point. Because...
Why thinkest thou then Faustus shall be damned?
There's a big part where Faustus is asking all these questions about, like actually searching for knowledge.
Yeah.
And he
wants to know where hell is.
Yeah.
He knows where heaven is, but he doesn't know where hell is, you know? Like,
what he asks is, who created the universe? And they don't answer.
because that's beyond him.
They won't give an answer to it. And that's what triggers the 7 deadly sins.
Okay, yeah.
They do it to distract him.
Hmm.
Like when a child is asking you too many questions, so you put on Coco Melon.
Oh my god. Where I'm gonna try and find. How do I want to skip all this though? We can't obviously go into fucking everything in this play, otherwise we would. Oh, here's Lucifer.
Yes, I think this is where it is. Companion Prince in Hell.
I'm just trying to find. Where does he
So, hold on. So he basically says...
Oh wait, no,
boyfriend?
yes, it's right here. It's right
Yeah.
here. Tell me who made the world. I will not. Tell me. Move me not, for I will not tell thee. Have I not bound thee to tell me everything? That is not against our kingdom, but this is. Think thou on hell, Faustus, for thou art damned. Think, Faustus, upon God that made the world. Remember this, and he leaves. Good angel, bad angel. Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Mephistopheles show up.
Hi, Hachi.
Hi, actually.
Yeah. I love it. Scroll down a little bit. Lucifer, and this is my companion princess in hell. He basically says, I'm Lucifer, and this is Beelzebub, my boyfriend. This is my companion prince. I forgot just how queer this is.
Well, look who wrote it.
Yeah. The man who was attributed to have said for the first time in history, smoke weed, fuck boys.
Yep. So this is where we see, yep, and then Faustus, we are come from hell to shew on thee some pastime. Sit down, and thou shalt see all the 7 deadly sins appear in their proper shapes. I fucking love this scene. What?
I'm just yawning.
Oh. As paradise was to Adam the first day of his creation, talk not of paradise nor creation, but mark the show. Talk of the devil and nothing else. 7 deadly sins.
I want to talk about the Oxford production here.
Okay.
Because this is where they... Obviously, this is where they introduced the 7 deadly sins, but do you remember how they did it?
I don't.
It was a game show.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right.
They did it as a game show where they were like, up next is Pride! And Lucifer was just like fucking... What's his name from Wheel of Fortune?
Oh, I don't know, but I know who you're talking about.
Pat Sajak?
Yeah.
Now I have one thing to say to you. I gotta pull that up real quick.
Are you real? Jer.
Yeah.
A brief intermission to watch this video from the Wheel of Fortune.
I'd like to solve. Well, you know, if you solve, there's a $7,000 jackpot. Go ahead. Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. Whoa! That's crazy. I have just one thing to say to you.
I just have one thing to say to you. Fuck. Alright, you're good. You're good.
Alright.
So this is what happens in the play right here. Lucifer comes out and says, I have something to say to you.
Oh god, hold on. I'm just trying to find what scene this is technically. No, it's scene 6. Okay. Scene 5. Scene 5. Sorry. Alright. Thank you for telling me to drink water. My throat's starting to hurt.
Oh, look at how nice this looks.
Okay. So, 7 deadly sins come in, and they're very much like, I am pride, I have disdain to any parents, I am like Ovid's flea. That's a reference to Ovid's Metamorphosis, I believe. Not Franz Kafka, different one.
Yeah.
I creep into every corner of a way.
Wait, Ovid's, you said?
Yeah.
One of the first poems that Marlowe transcribed was Ovid's Lovers,
That sounds right.
I believe. Just a little fun fact.
Covetousness, which is, greed, I believe. Pride, greed, wrath. Oh, swords, bitch. Can I talk about swords,
Yes,
bitch? I was in a theater class, when I was a theater major before I was an English major, because that's the type of person I am. I was in a theater class where we did Faustus.
And I would skip my class to come to.
Yeah. I forget which theater class it was, but,
It was dramatic lit.
it was drama lit. Oh, yep.
Because I
I think it was drama lit 1.
Yes, because I then took it right after.
Yep. And we
in
were doing
winter.
Dr. Faustus, and one of our assignments was to take a scene and basically rewrite it and perform it. If I And I was in a group that did this scene with the 7 deadly sins. It's a very, like, that might have been the scene we had to do. I don't entirely remember, but we ended up doing the scene. And we were all the 7 deadly sins, and I was Wrath. Of course I was Wrath.
Socks?
Socks? I was Wrath, and we had to rewrite it in kind of a modern tone. And Wrath's thing is, I am Wrath, I am neither father nor mother, I leapt out of a lion's mouth when I was scarce a half an hour old, and ever since...
That's the real non-binary experience. I am not a man, I am not a woman, I jumped out of a lion. Fuck you.
When I was scarce a half hour old, and ever since I have run up and down the world with this case of rapiers, wounding myself when I had nobody to fight withal. I was born in hell and look to it, for some of you shall be my father. And
oh, that's a daddy kink. You're my dad now. Not me saying that. That's Matt who's saying that. Raph is like, you are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie woogie woogie.
And I rewrote this, and the part about the case of rapiers, what I wrote was, and screamed when we performed it, I have swords, swords, comma, bitch. I have swords, bitch. And it became like a running joke.
Swords, comma, bitch.
It was swords, comma, bitch. And it became like a running joke in the theater department, and I still think about it.
Do you remember mine?
Were you in that too?
No. I helped with, what was that play? It was the dude who showed up at the house, and the old lady was like, oh, I love you. And, I played the old lady, and my line was, March, slut, march!
Oh my god, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the name of it.
That was, like, actually in the play.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a line from the play, that
Yeah.
wasn't a rewrite. So it was March, slut, march, and swords, comma, bitch was, like, the running jokes.
Yeah. That's what we were known for.
But yeah, pride, covetousness, wrath, envy, gluttony, sloth, lechery. I highly recommend just reading this scene. This is a good one. They just come to him and
But
they're like...
imagine it with Pat Sajak.
Yeah.
And it is Wheel of Fortune.
Wrath is my favorite one of these. Covetousness begotten of an old shrill and an old leathern bag, and might I have my wish I would desire this house and all the people in it were turned to gold. I am envy. There would come a famine through all the world, and all might die, and I live alone, and thou shalt see us how fat I would be. But thou must sit and I stand, come down with a vengeance. I'm gluttony. My parents are all dead. My parents are all dead. And Faustus is getting kind of worked up here. He's like, I don't like you guys. Choke yourself, glutton, and the devil choke thee. I am sloth, I was begotten on a sunny bank, where I have lain ever since, and you have done me great injury to bring me from hence. Blah, blah, blah. I'm the one who loves an inch of raw mutton better than an ell of fried stockfish, and the first letter of my name begins with L.
Hold on, let me look up lechery.
It's lust.
Okay.
It's lust. It means the same thing.
Okay, yeah, it does.
Away to hell, it's interesting that he's like, I don't like you guys, choke yourself, glutton, and he's like, oh, it feeds my soul.
It's also interesting because this is where the turn starts of the maturity.
Yeah.
Because prior to this, he's asking all these questions, and then as we'll see, he starts to get a little silly.
And this is kind of, with the chorus comes back in to kind of show this is kind of the halfway point.
Yep, here it is. It's exactly here.
Yep. Oh,
this is where he starts to be a little silly, a little funny.
Sorry, my arm hurts. Just give me a second. Learn Faustus to know the secrets of astronomy graven in the book of Jove's pious firmament. did mount himself to scale Olympus's top. Sorry, Kavian cycle joke. Being seated in the chariot burning bright, drawn by the strength of Yoki Dragon's necks, he is now gone to prove cosmography.
Cosmography?
Cosmography. And as I guess will first arrive in Rome to see the pomp and manner of his court to take some part of Holy Peter's feast, that to this day is highly solemnized. So, he basically flies through the sky, and him and Mephistopheles are taking a vacation to Rome to see the Pope. You know, like you do.
You like you and your boyfriend does. Drink Campana!
What?
Then up to Naples, rich Campania.
It's Campana is a different word.
Yeah.
Jer. Bless you. Sorry, that
We're a little silly today. Instead of trying to cover that sneeze, I kind of just stuck my tongue out, and it went.
I have to pee really bad. Can I go to the bathroom?
No, because somebody just went in the bathroom.
Can I go to the bathroom? I really have to pee.
Well, you're gonna have to wait until somebody gets out of the bathroom.
No, I'm gonna go downstairs.
Oh, you can't do that.
Can I please?
No, the bathroom broken.
No, it's...
Bathroom machine
I'm
broke.
going to the bathroom.
Alright.
Are you able to talk or no?
Yeah, during this time, we'll take a quick detour. We're gonna talk about Drake Campana.
Don't talk about Drake Campana.
We're gonna talk about Drake Campana. So does anybody know who Drake Campana is? Is anybody aware of this situation? If not, then, oh boy, we're in for a trip for the next couple minutes. I'm gonna assume no. So, we all know Drake Bell. You know, Mr. and Josh. So, we remember all the shit that he did. You know, the grooming a minor and everything, and all that pretty terrible stuff, the DUI. Well, sometime after he got the DUI and was let go by Disney on Spider-Man, and started to do some questionable things, he moved to Mexico, I believe, to restart his music career, wherein he changed his last name, I don't think it was legally, to Drake Campana. What does Drake Campana mean? Drake Bell, but in Spanish. So he changed his name from Drake Bell to Drake Bell in Spanish. And then, you know, he got brought back to America, and then he was put on trial and everything, if I remember correctly. I honestly forgot that, like, he was on trial and shit until talking about this now, and I'm like, damn, he did that. Huh. That was an interesting time. The fact that Drake Bell was, like, on trial and everything.
Yeah. Hi. It is me, Yoshi. Alright. Okay. Did you talk about Drake Campana?
Yes.
Are you done?
Yes.
Alright, so... boyfriend trio's going to Rome. And they're gonna play tricks on the Pope. Because that's what you do. So this is where your kind of point about maturity kind of comes in. He worked on seeking his knowledge, and I think he was finding things not to be as satisfactory as he wanted. So he's like, you know what? I have devil powers. Let's just fuck with people. Let's just do that. So that's what they do. They disguise themselves as cardinals. during... It's not like a trial.
No, it's a dinner party.
Well, what's the thing with the trial? Bruno, right?
Maybe.
Or is that later? I might be
Might
thinking
be
of a
later.
different...
I think this was just a dinner party.
They disguise themselves as cardinals. And they basically get the actual, cardinals in trouble. Cursed be that has stolen away his holiness meat from the table. Cursed be that distributeth their holy dirge.
Fling fireworks.
But they beat them. They beat the friars.
Yeah.
So they're just fucking up the Pope's dinner.
There's also a point. Hits him a box of the year and they all run away. Yeah, there's a point where they, like, go invisible.
Yes.
And they just fucking punch the Pope. But in the Oxford production, I think they pants him.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure they pants the Pope.
We see the chorus again. When Faustus had with pleasure ta'en a view of rarest things in royal courts of kings, he stayed his course and so returned home, where such as bear his absence but with grief, I mean his friends and nearest companions, did gratulate his safety with kind words, and in their conference of what befell touching his journey through the world and air, they put forth questions of astrology, which Faustus answered with such learned skill as they admired and wondered at his wit. Now as his fame spread forth in every land amongst the rest of the emperors one, Carlos the Fifth, at whose palace now Faustus is feasted amongst his noblemen, where then there he did, in the trial of his art, I leave untold in your eyes to see it performed.
So, I just... This basically says that Faustus started walking around Europe acting like Google.
Yeah. He's trying everything he knows.
But could you imagine if Google broke into your house and fucking beat the shit out of you and pantsed you? That's Dr. Faustus.
Yeah.
We are lucky that Google is not an AI.
Yeah. Taking a sippy.
We don't need to talk about Robin. Robin is...
I wanna go ahead a little bit.
Yeah. Robin is a comedic relief kind of thing who also summons Mephistopheles and learns magic. And once Mephistopheles is summoned, Robin was like a friend of Faustus, like a servant.
Yeah.
And then once they summon Mephistopheles, Mephistopheles is like, "Shut the fuck up! Don't ever talk to me again, or I will kill you." And then that's the end of that scene. And then Robin, like, starts manipulating women or something. I don't know. Emperor Knight. The Emperor wants to see Alexander and his paramour Helen.
Right. Where does it say? Okay.
You bring Alexander as paramour.
Yes. Okay. Here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's just kind of getting reputation at this point. So what starts to happen, and this, like, they say it later, but the 24 years goes by fast, and we only really get to see a couple scenes from it. One of them is the Pope's dinner party, one of them is this scene, and there's another scene I think we see, but we don't get everything in that 24 years, but it starts to go. It starts to go. Oh, and here's the scene with the leg.
Yeah.
He fakes this poor horse dude into thinking he ripped his leg off.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
And then he also gives him a new horse, but if...
He's all wet crying.
If the horse goes in water, it turns into a bale of hay, and then he goes in the water.
Turns into a bale of hay. Like, yeah,
He's just pulling, like, little dumb parlor tricks now. He stopped being, like, this pursuer of knowledge, and he's like, I'm gonna mess with people. I'm gonna do silly shit.
Here's the thing about Helen of Troy.
Yeah.
This is the other scene we see with the Duke of Van Holt. Duke of Van Holt wants to see,
I'm
Troy,
I'm also
right?
coming to realize that I think Faust is actually a lot different. So maybe we'll do one on that at some point, but for now, this is what we're...
Yeah, Faustus and the Duchess have a moment.
I think somewhere around this point in Faust is where the ants show up.
What?
Do you not remember Enter Ants?
Enter ants?
Enter Ants.
Enter ants. You know what that reminds me of? One of my favorite, Shakespeare, stage directions? Enter Shapes. Love Enter Shapes. What the fuck does that mean?
What one is that in?
Tempest. Enter Shapes. Love Enter Shapes.
Actually, I think it might be in this exact...
I think I
scene.
like Enter Shapes better than Exit Pursued by Bear. Enter Shapes is so good.
Exit Pursued by Bear? What one's that?
Oh, I don't even remember. It's not Hamlet, is it? No. But Exit Pursued by Bear is one of them. Enter Shapes is probably my favorite. There's some good stage directions in Shakespeare, but Enter Shapes really gets me.
I can't find Enter Ants.
Enter Ants.
I know it was in the Faust book that I have.
Enter
is-
Ants.
Yeah, I can't find it. Enter Ants. How do ants get inside the house?
Enter Ants. Here's the Helen of Greece. Dr. Faustus, since our conference about fair ladies, which was the beautifulest in all the world, we have determined with ourselves that Helen of Greece, or Helen of Troy, was the most admirable.
I'm pretty sure it's
Can't
just
read
giant ants that...
If you will do us that favor and let us see that peerless dame of Greece, whom all the world admires for majesty, we should think ourselves much beholding to you. Helen! There she is! Yippee! He just makes Helen of Troy appear.
Yeah.
And that's one of very many references to just Greece in general. Classical Greece. Very, very woven into this work. No marvel at the angry Greeks. Happy and blessed be Faustus evermore. Yippee! Okay. So, we very quickly... I'm trying to find it. Because we're already there, and I'm just trying to find out where it starts. Helen of Troy. The scholars exit. Where the fuck is it? Hold on, I'm sorry. Here it is. Okay, sorry. So, I think... So this is Wagner, who is one of Faustus's little servants. We've come to the end. So, 24 years passes, Dr. Faustus is kind of just fucking around, finding out. That's really what he's doing, is the chart is he's fucking around and finding... Okay. So yeah, the time is kind of running out, and Wagner's like, I think my master means to die shortly, for he hath given to me all his goods, and yet methinks if that death were near, he would not banquet or carouse, and swill amongst the students, even now he doth, who are at supper with such a belly cheer as Wagner ne'er beheld in all his life. See where they come, be like the feast is ended. Helen of Troy makes appear.
The second time.
This is the first time.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay. No, she comes back later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scholars go out. Enter old man.
old man who tries to save Dr. Faustus's life.
Yep, who isn't present in the text before this.
Yep.
But this old man shows up. I, Dr. Faustus, that I might prevail to guide thy steps unto the way of life, by which sweet path thou mayest attain the goal that shall conduct thee to celestial rest. Break heart, drop blood, and mingle it with tears, tears falling from repentant heaviness of thy most vile and loathsome filthiness, the stench whereof corrupts the inward soul with such flatulence? What?
Not flatulence. Flagidius?
Flagidious crimes of heinous sin. As no
Because it's flagellate.
commiseration. What?
I think it derives from flagellate. Like flagellation.
Oh, okay. Yep. Sorry. As no commiseration may expel, but mercy, Faustus, for thy Saviour sweet, whose blood alone must wash away the guilt. For art thou, Faustus, wretch, what hast thou done? Damned art thou, Faustus, damned, despair, and die. Hell calls for right when with a roaring voice says, Faustus, come, thine hour is almost come, and Faustus now will come to thee right.
It is flagitious. But I just want to go back to it for a second. What does it say? With such flagitious crimes of heinous sin. Flagitious just means criminal. What with such criminal crimes of of criminal sin? It just, if you break down those words, it says with such criminal crimes of criminal crimes.
Yeah.
Such villainous crimes of villainous crimes. Oh, I love etymology. Everything is so silly.
So the old man's like, you can do it. I see an angel hovers over thy head, and with a vial full of precious grace offers to pour the same into thy soul. Then call for mercy and avoid despair. I want to talk about despair.
I want to talk about the old man real quick.
Go ahead.
There is a theory that the old man is God? Or the hand of God trying to save Faust.
So, at this point, there's technically enough time for Faustus to be forgiven, to repent.
Oh yeah, there is.
At this point. But the old man says, call for mercy and avoid despair. This word despair is a very important one. It is believed that all sins can be forgiven except for one. There's one sin that cannot be forgiven, and that is the sin of despair.
Man, when my depression hits and I can't be forgiven for being sad.
It has to do with completely giving up.
I know, but the synonym of despair, where it's basically just like, God can forgive you for murder, but not for being sad.
Yeah.
Breaking down words is so much fun. I'd still love you if you kill somebody, but I wouldn't love you if you're sad. Deal breaker.
So, yeah. So, he still has time. He can call for mercy. He can call unto God. He can be forgiven. But if he despairs, it's over.
Yeah.
Leave me a while to ponder on my sins. I go, sweet Faustus, but with heavy cheer, fearing the ruin of thy hopeless soul. Mephistopheles is with him. Where is mercy now? I do repent, yet I do despair. So this is like in the last... I don't think the last... Yeah, the last hour has kind of come. And he says, I could repent, I could be forgiven, but I cannot, for I do despair. So he's completely damned at this point. If he wanted to be forgiven, he couldn't be.
Yeah.
And he does, when we get to, like, his last kind of final monologue, or not monologue, soliloquy, we see that Hell strives with grace for conquest in my breast. What shall I do to shun the snares of death? Thou traitor Faustus, I arrest thy soul for disobedience to my sovereign lord. Revolt, and I'll in piecemeal tear thy flesh.
I'll in piecemeal tear thy flesh makes me think that Mephistopheles like, I will turn you into a 10-piece chicken McNugget.
I will turn you into rings.
Jerry, you should go into historical linguistics. Thank you. That's basically being a dramaturge.
Not entirely.
Not entirely. Dramaturges, for the most part, which is what I was planning to be, and I should be doing eventually, but they're basically the history majors of theater.
Yeah.
Your job is to do basically the linguistics and the historical context of plays so that the cast can reference all of that. I did it for American Idiot, and looking into like all the climate of the early 2000s, what all the songs that they were singing meant, and like the just general context of them in history and likely what it's supposed to mean. It's like a backup for the director.
Yeah.
Because the director obviously has their interpretation, but it's also important to recognize what the historical interpretation likely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these 24 years have passed, and Faustus is just now being like, wait, I want to go back. And Mephistopheles is like, you made a deal, you can't turn your back on us now, and even if you did, it's too late. Sort of thing. Entreat thy lord to pardon my unjust presumption, and with my blood again I will confirm my former vow I made to Lucifer. So he's going back and forth, like he like really cannot decide, and he's only got like an hour and a half left to live, and he knows it, you know. Do it again, do it then quickly with an unfeigned heart, lest greater danger to attend thy drift. Torment, sweet friend, that base and crooked age, that durst dissuade me from thy Lucifer with greatest torments that our hell affords. And then we get Helen again. One thing, good servant, and let me crave of thee to glut the longing of my heart's desire, that I might have until my paramour, that heavenly Helen which I saw of late, whose sweet embracings may extinguish clean those thoughts that do dissuade me from my vow, and keep mine oath I made to Lucifer. So Helen comes back in. This is where we get that great chain of being again.
Yeah.
Was this the face that launched 1,000 ships and burnt the topless towers of Ilium? Sweet Helen, make me immortal with a kiss. It's that fucking line. Make me immortal with a kiss. That's the complete break of the great chain of being. You cannot be immortal. You're longing for something spiritual with something physical, and you just can't do it. You just can't do it. We talk about this a lot whenever we do this in class. This kind of look here. Her lips suck forth my soul, see where it flies. Come, Helen, give me my soul again. Here will I dwell, for heaven is in these lips. It's the physical and the spiritual. And all that dross that is not Helena, I will be Paris, and for love of thee, instead of Troy, shall Wittenberg be sacked, and will combat with weak Yes. And wear thy colors of thy plumed crest. Yes, I will wound Achilles in the heel, and then return to Helen for a kiss.
Don't do that to him.
This frickin'
Achilles doesn't need that.
This passage gets me. So he's longing for something like the physical life, the physical pleasure, in exchange for immortality, something spiritual, something abstract, you know? It's the break of the great chain of being. Brighter art thou than flaming Jupiter, where he appeared to hapless Semele, more lovely than the monarch of the sky, and wanton I don't know that word!
What?
Arethusa's azured arms, and none but thou shalt be my paramour.
Arethusa's Azure arms.
Yeah.
Probably.
The old man comes back. Accursed Faustus, miserable man, from that from thy soul excludest the grace of heaven and fliest the throne of his tribunal seat. Satan begins to sift me with his pride, as in this furnace God shall try my faith, vile hell, shall triumph over thee. Ambitious fiends, see how the heavens smile at your repulse, and laugh your state to scorn. Hence hell, for hence I fly unto my God. And the old man leaves.
Hi.
Hi.
This is where the scholars show up. And the scholars are like, what happened to you? And he's like, I made a deal with... I am the devil with Goody Proctor. He just talks about everything he's done, I believe.
A surfeit of deadly sin that have damned both body and soul.
Yeah.
Call unto God, it's easy. Yeah, call unto God, do it.
Yeah, they end up praying for him.
Yeah. But it's too late.
Yeah.
Lucifer
is it?
And God forbade it.
Jasper looks at me as if I don't have a reason that I'm saying, or is it?
So they're gonna pray for him and they leave. Clock strikes 11. This is the final hour. This is his final...
It's the 11th hour.
Yep. Strikes the half hour. This is super long. I wish I could read the whole thing. I'll read some of it. Now hast thou but one bare hour to live, and then thou must be damned perpetually. Stand still, you ever-moving spheres of heaven. I fucking love that line. You ever-moving spheres of heaven, that time may cease and midnight never come. Fair nature's eye, rise, rise again, and make perpetual day. Or let this hour be but a year, a month, a week, a natural day, that Faustus may repent and save his soul. Stars move still, time runs, the clock will strike, the devil will come, and Faustus must be damned. I'll leap up to my God, who pulls me down? See where Christ's blood streams in the firmament. One drop would save my soul, half a drop. Rend not my heart for naming of my Christ, yet I will call unto him. Oh, spare me, Lucifer, where is it now? 'Tis gone, and see where God stretcheth out his arm and bends his earful brows. Mountains and hills, come and fall on me, and hide me from the heavy wrath of God. Then I will run headlong into the earth. It will not harbor me. You stars that reigned at my nativity, whose influence hath allotted death and hell, now draw up Faustus like a foggy mist into the entrails of yon laboring clouds, that when you vomit forth into the air, my limbs may issue from your smoky mouth, so that my soul may but ascend to heaven. Clock strikes half hour. Let Faustus live in hell 1,000 years, 100,000 at last be saves. Oh, no end is limited to damned souls. I be changed until some brutish beast. All beasts are happy, for when they die, their souls are soon dissolved into elements, but mine must live still plagued in hell. Cursed be the parents that engendered me. No, Faustus, curse thyself, curse Lucifer, that have deprived thee of the joys of heaven. Clock strikes 12. It strikes. Body turn into air, or Lucifer will bear thee quick to hell. Thunder and lightning. O soon be changed into little water drops, and fall into the ocean, never be found. My God, look not so fierce on me. Adders and serpents let me breathe a while. Ugly hell gape not. Come not, Lucifer. I'll burn my books. Mephistopheles. And he dies.
Okay, so, Faust. Remember how I said there was a different ending?
Yes.
He repents.
He does.
He's saved. He goes to heaven.
Cool.
Like, Gotez was just like, I don't like that.
He completely goes against.
Yeah. Goes against the point of the tragedy.
Yep.
He's like, I don't like that he goes to hell. I don't like that. I think he should go to heaven. And then it's like, okay, I guess. I found that out and I was like, I don't know if I really want to read that because it goes
against completely what this thing like the whole thing stands for.
While you were reading that, I was thinking how cool it would be if they made like anime movies that are just like the scripts of like classic literature, just verbatim. Like, could you imagine this in like Studio Trigger animation with frickin' or like Death Note animation?
Yeah.
With like a ray chase. And I showed you Keith Flick, right? From Be the Beginning.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that him as Faustus? He would eat that role. Or Alessandro Giuliani.
Oh my god, yeah.
He would absolutely destroy that. Alright, back to you.
Alright. So, I find it interesting that his last word is, Mephistopheles. I also find it interesting that he says, I'll burn my books. I'll burn my books. It gets me. And it gets me because it's too fucking late, like, and like that's the I'll burn my books thing. The reason that gets me so hard is because that actually comes up in a Shakespeare work, and I'm sorry to bring it to Shakespeare again. It comes up in The Tempest, which we've talked about a couple times. I love The Tempest. We'll have to do a Books by Brunch on The Tempest. But the same thing happens is I'll burn my books. And obviously The Tempest is a lot different than this, but it gets me. So of course it's in this final hour is when he finally is like, I don't want this anymore, you know? And Mephistopheles is not with him at this point. And he even cries out for him, but he's not there. Like, he cannot save you.
They realized that Mephistopheles had a conflict of interest, so they had to take him away.
They had I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it!
What?
Nothing. I was gonna make a joke.
Howard.
I was gonna say they had a consensual workplace relationship.
Yeah, you're right.
The devils come. I'll burn my books, ugly hell gape not. And they take them. Chorus comes in, and I'll read this just because it's short. Cut is the branch that might have grown full straight, and burned is Apollo's laurel bow. That sometime grew within this learned man, Faustus is gone. Regard his hellish fall, whose fiendish fortune may extort the wise, only to wonder at unlawful things, whose deepness doth entice such forward wits to practice more than heavenly power permits. That's the point where it rhymes. This is a couplet.
Yeah.
And then it has this line in Latin, which I can kind of read. The day is over. I don't know what the rest of that says. Terminat ora diem, terminat auctor opus. It might just mean the day is over and the play.
And the magnum opus.
And the work. Because magnum opus just means greatest work. Or biggest work.
Can you go to it? I will translate it.
I know that says terminate the day, end the day, or end the hour of the day or something. And the author's work, I think it might be.
The author finishes his work.
Yeah.
The hour finishes the day, the author finishes his work.
Okay.
I gotta learn Latin.
I want to, it's hard. It's very hard. And that is the tragedy of Dr. Faustus. I fucking love this play. Obviously, we don't do the whole thing justice. I highly recommend either reading it yourself or finding a production of it. Because
Oxford has a production that you can watch very easily.
Yeah. Highly recommend it. A lot of people do really fun things with Faustus. Absolutely love this piece. Absolutely love it. I love the idea of just, you know, that final hour is so intense of just, it's too late. The sin of despair. He despairs before he can repent. He could have been forgiven, and I think maybe that's what Goethe is kind of doing with Faust, but it's too late for him. he is damned, he's damned, he's damned. He tries to seek, physical pleasure in the spiritual. He tries to seek more knowledge than he can gain. He breaks his great chain of being. He breaks his place. And he will not be forgiven for it. The sin of despair. You made a deal, you face the consequences, Love this piece. Love, love, love this piece. I just think it's neat. I
do too. Sorry, I was prepping the eventual raid.
Okay. So unless there's anything else we want to talk about. And if anyone has...
We talked about most of the stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
The things to keep in mind.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for us before we go? We'll take some questions if people have them, or just things they want to mention. Like I said, we can't cover these big plays in full. And I understand that people have busy lives, but this one's a favorite of mine, and I know it's a favorite of yours.
We also should say that going forward, this is the last of the weekly episodes.
Yeah. So Books by Brunch, will have a every other week type of schedule.
Possibly.
It's just, it is a lot for us, even though we've read these works, it's just, we'll be able
I had
prepare...
to read most of these every week for the first time.
Yeah. So, probably no Books by Brunch next week.
Yeah. Unless we do next month as a Shakespeare unit.
That's, yeah.
Which we could do that every week, because we have enough Shakespeare in our back pockets to do every week, but...
There are some that I'd want you to read in full, though. If we did because I'd want to do, like, The Tempest, which you haven't read.
Yeah.
I'd want to do Richard II, which you have not read.
We could do that for an April unit.
April?
For
his
Shakespeare
birthday, yeah. There's so many. We'd probably have to do multiple Shakespeare units, because Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet,
we should probably do 2 short stories for November, because I want to do, a Modest Proposal.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll still be on Sundays. Every other.
Same time, same place, just different schedule a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll put out a schedule of what works we're gonna be looking at for November.
Yeah, once we decide.
Yeah.
Plus, I still have thumbnails to catch up on.
Yeah. But yeah, this was Dr. Faustus. It is Halloween Eve. So happy Halloween. We will not be streaming tomorrow because we will be out all day. Halloween festivities. But we hope you enjoyed. Thank you guys for popping in and hanging out.
This has been the Books by Brunch Gothic unit.
It was the Gothic unit. Well, this isn't Gothic.
Of 2022.
This isn't a Gothic piece.
I consider it one of the introductory works to the idea of Gothic. I consider it a predecessor.
No. It's
Why?
not, because the first Gothic novel is Castle of Otranto, which comes way before this.
Well, the rest of the Faust works are typically within Gothic realm. Agree to disagree. We put it in our Gothic unit, so...
It was our spooky unit more than anything. Yeah. The other... Jekyll and Hyde is not entirely a Gothic piece. Frankenstein is. Poe's work is. What? Why are you looking
Well,
at
that's the 2022 one.
Yeah.
Let's see if this raid works. Alright, cool. We're going to raid our friend Lore Master Zenosia, who I know from Twitter, but we don't see that much.
Okay. Alright.
I'm gonna need you to press the button
Alright.
whenever you're ready.
Thank you guys so much. I'm trying to find where the mouse is. Alright. Thank you guys for joining us. And have a good Halloween. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.